Yes, Kenya. Tamu sana, yes. In the last 5 days, if you do an opinion poll among Kenyans, you will most definitely find out that the most hated person among Raila supporters, Wafula Chebukati, cannot miss in that list. And if you also do an opinion poll among Kenyans, especially those supporting William Ruto, the most trusted person in their list, Wafula Chebukati, most likely will not miss on their list. And this is so because in the last few days, government institutions, the likes of DCI and the police, have been succeeding in exposing Wafula Chebukati and IEBC as if they have some plans to rig this year's elections. It's the government itself that has been exposing IEBC. And that's why a good majority of Raila supporters might not have trust in faith in Wafula Chebukati. And now the irony here is, why is the same government not arresting and questioning this Wafula Chebukati? If they really have that a lot of evidence against him, why are they not summoning him, even arresting him, or even questioning him? Why are they letting him a free man? That's the elephant in the room. So in this video, I want us to have a look at 5 strong reasons why I believe the government is still reluctant on arresting or even summoning Wafula Chebukati. I know there might be so many reasons, but I want us to have a look at 5 strong reasons why I believe the government is still reluctant on arresting Wafula Chebukati. Before we do that, in case you are watching us for the very first time, subscribe, give this video a like. Yes. The first reason, and this should make William Ruto supporters a worried lot. The government already has a deal with Wafula Chebukati. And they know at the right time, Wafula Chebukati will just toe the line. That's most likely why they are not arresting or even summoning Wafula Chebukati. And I'm saying that because in 2017, a good number of Raila supporters were also putting their trust on Wafula Chebukati. And if you ask Jubilee supporters in 2017, they really hated Wafula Chebukati, and they were seeing Wafula Chebukati as being pro-Raila Odinga. The reverse is the case in 2022. Raila supporters are now seeing Wafula Chebukati as supporting the opposition candidate who comes out as William Ruto. And you know, in 2017, Wafula Chebukati was also making some very reckless statements that were really exciting and giving joy to the opposition that maybe Wafula Chebukati was not part of the rigging that was being planned by government at that time. And at that time, we saw Roselyn Akombe resigning. And Raila supporters and Kenyans were waiting that Wafula Chebukati is also just going to resign. What happened is Wafula Chebukati coiled his tongue and just did what the government wanted him to do. In 2022, maybe, I'm seeing a similar situation. The government already knows Wafula Chebukati's weakness. The government knows that Wafula Chebukati, if pressure is put a little bit, Wafula Chebukati will automatically bulge in. That's why the government is not worried about arresting him. And that's why the government, with all their intelligence information, I don't think the government could be that stupid to let a man like Wafula Chebukati stay in office if the government is convinced that man is going to mess them up. I don't think the government could have allowed that or even let Wafula Chebukati to stay in office. And even now, should the government realize that now, I know they will block Wafula Chebukati. The mere fact that they're letting Wafula Chebukati free convinces me that there might be some conspiracy between Chebukati and the government. William Ruto's supporters should not be celebrating Wafula Chebukati. That's the first reason I'm seeing here. And then secondly, the government is trying to create a perception that they are not reading from the same page with IEBC. And this is to trap William Ruto into embracing IEBC. And for those who have been following me here, I've always maintained that William Ruto is not all that clever. Ruto is just a heckler, somebody who talks a lot. The mere fact that he talks a lot does not mean he knows what he's talking about. Sometimes back, William Ruto was supporting manual register. After William Ruto saw Raila was also supporting the manual register, he changed his mind and he didn't want the manual register. That's the trick the government is playing on William Ruto, especially this thing of IEBC. The government is creating a perception that they are not reading from the same page with IEBC for William Ruto to embrace IEBC. That's another game I'm seeing being played here. Politics is never a straight line. There are so many corners and innuendos in politics. That's what makes politics realpolitik. As said by Niccolo Machiavelli in his manuscript, The Prince, politics is never a straight line. It has some elements of that in it. The third reason, the government is also trying to create a perception that they are not interfering with IEBC. By arresting Wafula Chebukati, it's obvious there will be that perception that the government is now interfering with IEBC. And that will even make even the international communities into believing that the government in Kenya might be interfering with IEBC. But the government sees no need in that because after all they believe their candidate is ahead in this year's election. So the government is avoiding arresting Wafula Chebukati not to create that perception that they are interfering with IEBC. And they are also trying to avoid giving William Ruto a propaganda tool. Because William Ruto and his team are very good in the propaganda war. And should that happen, most definitely they will win that propaganda war against the government. The government will not come out in good time to convince Kenyans that indeed they are ahead in this year's election. William Ruto, I know, will win that war against the government. And then the fourth reason, the government also knows that Wafula Chebukati cannot rig elections without the government's assistance or blessings. And that's a fact. Chebukati, even if he wanted to rig this year's elections in favor of William Ruto, even if he wanted to do that, without the assistance of the government, most definitely it will not succeed. IEBC knows that, and I don't think IEBC can even attempt to rig an election for an opposition candidate. That is something I don't think IEBC can even dare do or even attempt doing. And maybe I stand to be corrected on that, but I seriously doubt that. Wafula Chebukati knows he cannot do that. And one reason I'm saying that is because if you look at the internet providers IEBC is majorly relying on, like Safaricom, Airtel, and Telcom, all these are in one way or the other being controlled by the government. So Wafula Chebukati attempting to do that, I don't think he can be that stupid to attempt doing that. Yes, I don't think he can do that. And then again, be on the same point before I go to another point. The government knows that in the worst case scenario, what Wafula Chebukati can maybe do, yes, is just to offer a free, fair election. The government knows that in the worst case scenario, where maybe they can't influence IEBC, the government knows the worst is for IEBC to offer free, fair elections. Because nobody, even if William Ruto has the ability to rig in his favor, will do that. If the government also has ability to rig in their favor, they'll do that. And that's a fact. The government knows the worst IEBC can do, if at all they can't influence IEBC, is for IEBC to conduct a free, fair election. And the government has no problem with that again, because the government knows that its candidate, the candidate they are supporting, Raila Odinga, is also clearly ahead of William Ruto. So in the worst case scenario where the government cannot influence IEBC, they know IEBC can also not rig for an opposition candidate. IEBC can only offer a free, fair election. And in that free, fair election, Raila Odinga, as the candidate assumed to be supported by the government, will win in that is ahead in all the statistics. So still the government is seeing everything is good and no cause for any alarm. And that can also explain as to why Raila Odinga is still silent. He is not making a lot of noise. Raila is known to be a man who does not keep quiet in terms of controversies like this one. But miraculously, Raila is also silent. And that also should not be taken lightly. There is a reason Raila is silent. Finally, the government knows Chebukati is innocent, but just incompetent. They know Chebukati might not even be aware of maybe the rigging schemes at IEBC, but is just incompetent. And I'm saying that because if you look at the way Chebukati was appointed, he was appointed because he was deemed the most incompetent candidate who was forwarded to Uhuru for nomination as IEBC chair. So government knows that this man, the problem with him is that he's just incompetent, but he might be innocent and not even aware of maybe serious rigging schemes at IEBC. Those are the 5 main reasons I'm seeing here, ladies and gentlemen. In case you are watching us for the very first time, but so far you have not yet subscribe, give this video a like. Any other person, that's the kind of analysis we do here. We don't beat about the bush. We go straight to the point. Tamu sana ye.